As an empowerment and transformation coach, Busola Jegede is passionate about training and raising women in leadership positions, as well as empowering them with skills to make them effective as entrepreneurs and in their careers. She helps women have high performance and productivity in their businesses, calling, or purpose. As a life coach to women, she mentors and guides them to discover their life purpose as well as walking in it. Welcome to the gallery, A Woman's Perspective. I am Siju Alabi. Parenthood in general can be sheer joy and at the same time challenging. Busola Jegede, the brain behind the group The 40+ Woman, helps us on this topical issue of parenting adult children. Thanks for coming on the show, Mrs. Jegede.
Thank you so much.
The gallery, A Woman's
Thanks
Perspective.
for inviting me.
You're welcome, ma'am. Now, parenting adult children is one of the most difficult and the least talked about. Why is that?
You know, typically, parenting is one of those things that you are never schooled in. And it's what happens when you have a baby, you just go on the journey. And parenting adult children is actually like the other side of the divide. Typically, when you're a parent, you're dealing with a baby, a toddler, it's an experience you're growing up with. Even you are also going on a journey of parenting. But then it now gets to a point when these children become teenagers or preteens, young adults, and then certain dynamics begin to show up. And over time, we're realizing that so much is needed in information sharing. Number one, the parent and the adult children are from two separate generations. So there's a generational difference. And because there's a generational difference, we now need to get the right information. For instance, we're talking about adult children, maybe from teenagers, from 15, 16, 17, 18, and then we're looking at 20-something. So with a lot of changes in the society right now, there is the need for us to improve ourselves, get knowledge, because there are so many challenges we're seeing. Now, when children begin to grow up to be young adults, you cannot take decisions for them. Like you were doing, get into the car, brush your teeth, go to school, iron. Now they want to be independent. And it takes the parent to know that and respect that. You want to respect their spaces. You can't just barge into their room. And you know, now typically children will tell you, I mean the young ones, the young adults, you can't just tell them get into the car, we're going somewhere. They say, Mommy, you didn't tell me before. I have my own plans. So they are more individualistic, they are now more matured, and now as parents we need to know how to deal with them. So more like, you will be more like a consultant.
That is not paid for.
That is not paid for. So the roles begin to change and they are now more defined. And you find out that if we're not careful to observe all these things, a lot of people may lose their children because that communication will break down. If you keep shouting at them when they're wrong rather than, you know, engaging them. So the older they grow, the more you need to engage them, like discuss with them. Tomorrow after church, we'd like to visit somebody, I want you to know, and then they can say, oh, I promised somebody, okay, how do we do it? And because there is a generational change, the way our parents brought us up is different from the way we are bringing them up. There is the influence of the social media, which is so strong. Now, when you're discussing with young people, you've got to be informed. Because the minute you're talking about something, they are Googling it. Our parents told us they came first all the time.
It's a big lie.
Your children can research you. If you tell them, oh, this is what I did before I got married, I was this, you know, a lot of, when you're talking about chastity, they can quickly, Mommy, but you had me after 6 months after you got married to daddy? What are you talking about? So we are seeing so many things now happening with the new generation that we as parents, it's a bit challenging for some of us if we do not understand how to grapple with these things and how to deal with them. Number one, the young adults we are bringing up now, they are very permissive to certain things.
I was just going to say that because, I mean, considering the global village that we live in, you know, children from their teens learn lifestyles, you know, that actually channel their choices. You were touching on that a little, you know, often poor choices. And sometimes they turn to strangers in the family.
Exactly.
Now, how can parents recognize when all is not well and, you know, kind of respect those differences?
You know, as parents, we just have to know that we cannot have armchair parenting now.
Anymore.
No more. You have to learn certain things. If, for instance, you're an analog parent parenting digital children, how are you going to know what's going on in their space? How are you going to know what your child is tweeting? You don't know what your child... Look at, we've seen somebody who committed suicide, who tweeted. So you just have to be informed. You have to up yourself, educate yourself. Go, you know, sometimes when you're on Facebook, they move to Twitter. When you're on Twitter, they move to Snapchat. They don't want to be where the parents are. But we just have to keep an eye on them. Some may be going through issues. And when they begin to use their medium of communication to express their feelings, we must be watchful. You just have to search and search. So I tell a lot of women that you just can't say you don't know. You're still looking for somebody to give you the remote control.
Some women cannot even operate WhatsApp.
But you just have to, because we don't want to lose them. Another important thing is because they are exposed to so many things out there, their values are so permissive. What we would not permit. So we have to be intentional about inculcating good values in them strongly from when they are young, so that when they get to those crossroads where there is alternative lifestyle, where there is silhouette challenge, you know, these things are trending and attractive to them. But they can be damaging because they don't see, they think they know everything, but there are certain things that you know, they are timely and they are time-tested principles, which we, the older ones, know by wisdom.
For semi-analog parents like us, you know, semi-analog, you know, this silhouette challenge thing is something.
It's
however,
a good thing.
There's so much to talk about. We'll be back shortly.
Thank you.
Welcome back. The discussion is parenting adult children. Now, Mrs. Jegede, we've been talking about tips, some of the things our adult children do and how best to handle such situations. But my next question is, how best can parents share wisdom, experiences, and knowledge that is not taught in Harvard without being critical?
It's important for parents to find ways of engaging with their children by involving them in your life as well as getting involved in theirs. Because these days you find out that a lot of adult children, they are not communal. They are mostly individualistic. They want to stay on their own. They want to do their own stuff. So you just have to find ways to connect, whether female or male. You must find their interests, find a common ground. So whenever you find a common ground, you maximize it. So when your child is coming to you for something which is of interest to that child, rather than, oh, you're bothering me, get interested and connect. And then we must be intentional because these days, if we're not careful, most of them get into their shell. They have their circle of friends and they think you are old school. You don't understand them, or you don't know what is happening now. So find out the kind of language. You do see, even on social media, some parents dancing with their children.
I was just going to tell you that. Me, I like
They are
to,
trying to connect.
I like to dance.
They're trying to connect.
And I will call, I say, please come and teach me the latest steps.
And some children like it. You know, they have all this group dance. Maybe it's Jerusalem or whatever. And you see some with it. So what these parents are trying to do, you don't want to be caught, because number one, they leave. Children leave. Either they go to boarding school, from boarding school to the university. Before you know it, they marry and they leave.
Hey, parents forget. Reality check.
So you just have to know that it's important you maximize the time you have with them. Be intentional.
Yes.
Whatever it is.
They will not be children forever.
They won't. They won't. And it's also important for us to know that we need to inculcate good values in them intentionally by explanation. You don't just throw things at them. Explain to them. When you explain to them why they don't need to do certain things, then they would be more likely to adhere to your advice rather than, don't do this because I'm saying you shouldn't. I'm your mother, I'm saying so. But they want to know why. Why are you saying I shouldn't do this? And it's important for us parents to be honest with our children. Some of us are not honest with them. We think we can lie to them and just...
They will take it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah,
they won't question
child,
it.
I'm your mother, I'm the one telling you. Just explain, well, I might have made some mistakes in some choices I made. My marriage to your dad might have failed, but it doesn't mean marriage is bad. Your dad might have had these issues, I might have had my... So if you're a single parent, parenting an adult child, that child should have a good chance at having a good marriage. You have to be honest. Don't keep on blaming in order to make yourself look good. So when you're honest with them, they will be able to... I heard somebody say his mom was a single parent who had 4 of them for 4 fathers. But he has a good marriage. And he said, well, after a while, my mom realized what she did was bad and she turned a new leaf. And so that person is a balanced young adult. So we shouldn't raise people who are dented by our mistakes. We shouldn't raise young adults that we pour venom on. We shouldn't raise people that are failures. We try to achieve what we couldn't achieve through their lives. Give them the opportunity to live their lives by being honest with them, and they will appreciate it.
Now let's talk about boundaries. Now, how do parents set boundaries, whether the children are at home or away?
Very, very important that we set boundaries which would help those children as they grow older to be able to take care of themselves. Many of us, out of an overflow of love, we love so much, we don't set boundaries, no financial boundaries. You give your child pocket money, he calls you, Mom, I need more money. And you just keep giving money because you can afford it. That child will not know how to manage money. Many of us do not let them know that certain habits or behaviors are not permissive in the larger society. Because this is your child, you can permit. But when that child... So you find a lot of young adults get into the space of their jobs, and somebody scolds them and they can't take it. Because you don't scold them, because probably you're a permissive parent and you make them grow up like that. But their boss is not their mother. So I tell my children, see, your boss will not excuse this thing from you. You're supposed to clean your space. You're supposed to be responsible with money. You're supposed to do this and that. If I permit it because I'm your parent and you're stuck with me because I love you, your boss will have no excuses, and you can either get a query, excuse me, or you can be sacked. That's the real world. So we have to set those boundaries so that they can know that this is the right way to behave. You don't take what belongs to somebody just because the person is your sibling. You don't just barge in, just withdraw money without being responsible, because that is stealing. And so it's important we inculcate these boundaries in them so that when they get to the larger society, they can fit in. Otherwise, you'll find out a lot of young adults, they find it absolutely difficult to fit in because many parents have spoiled them. And the interesting thing is, not all the parents, is not because of riches, but it's because of love. Because you even find some people, it's not as if they have so much money, but they just love too much to the fact that that child becomes a liability to himself or herself.
And some instances is where maybe the parent or the mother at this point actually suffered some infertility and had the baby, the child, late, and then it becomes the child becomes, pampered and doted on for everything. Even in school, they will say, "Who told you to smack my child?" Blah, blah, blah,
And that's
and when they do grow up, when they're not used to that kind of
and one major thing coming from that is that when we pamper our children and they become young adults, life happens. There are people that cannot really cope on their own when their parents leave them, either by death or by disability or by sickness. They just fall, they just collapse like a pack of cards because they have been spoiled to the point that, number one, they have a sense of entitlement. And it's just because the person has faults. So it's important that you begin to notice when your child begins to have a sense of entitlement, that, okay, and it is very common with this new generation.
It is.
They feel, we are grateful that our parents sent us to the university. We are grateful. They say, but that's your responsibility as my parents.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you're supposed to do. People do it, but
I find that abroad, particularly when you watch you relate with some people, you find out that some of these young adults will say that they want to give back to their parent, and not when they are young adults, but right from a young age.
So that's going to help them to go through crossroads in life.
Now, this is a tricky one. How do parents make room for the significant other in a young child's life? Because it will come to that. Oftentimes, it creates rifts, and sometimes it breaks families.
Parents must not be possessive to the point that they want to keep their children with them. They have to know that these children have to live their own lives. And it's important for us to know that that it's going to come to a stage where your child is entitled to marry and have his or her own family. We shouldn't be clingy. Some of us come from very strong families. I mean, I've seen very strong families, and it's so strong that
it's so
strong that the spouse coming in is made to feel like a stranger. And that spouse coming in would be answerable to so many people that it puts pressure on a young marriage, where there are people living in, the mother insists. So it's important, and one of the things I teach women, and when I strategize with women, is that as you grow older, number one, the things are changing so fast. Do not think your children will necessarily take care of you when you're getting old. That's the reality. The millennials, the alpha generation, which are typically the children of the X generation. The X generation are people from 40 to about 50 something. So we gave birth to the millennials, the 1995, and the alpha generation. Their perspective is so...
Which generation are we?
We are called the generation X.
Hey, okay.
So the millennials and the alpha generation, they are so individualistic that, number one, they don't want you. We in this generation, we are used to taking care of our mothers. We're used to,
and we are still doing it.
We're still doing it. We keep them with us. We have a sense of responsibility, but they have a different orientation. They want to be on their own. And watch this. A lot of them, they know how to make money from skits, from online, from a lot of things, you know, so they get a lot of money and they make it early in life. And they are more purpose driven. Some of us in our generation, we were forced to be lawyers or doctors because our parents were. But now they'll tell you, no, I want to be a photographer. I want to be a chef. So you find out that because of that, we cannot cling to them so much. So many of them do not want to carry their parents with them. They want to live their own lives. And so I tell women, make provision for the second part of your life. I mean, I think we'll talk about that at another session. Make provision. Don't think your children owe you what they call black tax. There is something called
that.
Black tax.
Yes.
That it is typically black people that raise their children and expect those that they have raised to bring back dividends to raise the other people. You are the firstborn, take care of your junior ones. You know, that is not in Western societies. So they call it black tax.
Black tax.
That
so
you
black
have to,
as in the color.
You have to pay tax. If we raised you, now you have to give back. You must give back. And people are getting to the point that, number one, the economic situation is so tough that they are not even standing on their feet yet, not to talk of giving back. It takes a lot for some of the young people to make it in life, because if you're looking at a country like Nigeria, Africa, it's so tough for them. Before you are now saying they should give back. So those who can make it are giving back. But a lot of them are saying, Mom, I'm still trying to survive. I'm still trying to make it. But we never said that to our parents. You just have to make sure your parents are well taken care of. Their allowance.
And your younger siblings.
Yes, and you have a sense of responsibility. In fact, some will move in with you. You educate some of them. But this generation, they just don't feel a sense of, they don't feel they're responsible. Let everybody take care of themselves, because they are more individualistic in nature. So I tell parents, make plans, get your retirement plan, subscribe to any of these things and keep money. Even if you're a business person, have a pension scheme. Keep aside some money for yourself. If you've got a business, your children may not take up your business. So put structures in place. You can't force them. They may say they are going to the other side of the world. And you have built a business, and you think maybe your bakery or your school that you've used your life for, and they say, Mom, Dad, I'm not interested in that. I want to chase my own dreams. And they're entitled to. So you put structures. If they come, fine. But if they don't, make sure that you make your business a going concern.
Wow. 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 Outstanding. I mean, thank you so much for sharing with us. I know there's so much more to talk about, and maybe, like you said, at another session. It's been a wonderful time with you. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Sharing your knowledge on how we can parent adult children better. Thank you so much, Mrs. Busola Jegede.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure being here.
You're welcome. We'll be back. It's no gainsaying that women run the world. That's why this week's Sisieko has ticked the boxes of excellence in all her endeavor.
Mrs. Kemi Nelson is an A-list progressive politician in Lagos State who has proven her mettle in all ramifications. Mrs. Nelson qualified as a registered nurse and midwife, holds a master's degree in financial management, a fellow of the National Institute of Marketing, and a member of many professional organizations. Kemi Nelson is the only female member of the influential Governance Advisory Council of Lagos State. A notable trademark of hers is her ever-radiant smile.
More to come in a moment. We've come to the end of the show. Always remember to wear your mask in public places, wash your hands regularly, and maintain social distance. I am Siju Alabi. Do stay safe.